You wanted freedom? Take it. Cheating witch.
2 a.m, and I'm sitting in my kitchen like some pathetic loser, staring at cold coffee and wondering when my marriage turned into a bad reality show. The front door slams hard enough to rattle the windows, and in walks Felicity, my darling wife of 8 years, looking like she just stepped off a magazine cover. Designer dress, perfect makeup, not a hair out of place. Meanwhile, I'm sitting here in my warehouse uniform, smelling like diesel fuel and disappointment. "Owen," she says, not even looking at me as she tosses her purse on the counter. "We need to talk." I lean back in my chair, taking in her whole performance. "Sure, Flick. What's on your mind at 2 a.m? She finally looks at me, and there's something cold in her green eyes that I've never seen before, something that makes my stomach drop. From now on, I decide when we spend time together. Stop bothering me with your needy BS. I have my own life, my own friends, my own interests. You're suffocating me. I blink at her, waiting for the punchline. When it doesn't come, I actually laugh. Are you serious right now? Dead serious? She crosses her arms, striking a pose like she's posing for some twisted photo shoot. I'm not your entertainment, Owen. Find something else to do with your time. You know what? Fine. If that's how she wants to play it, I can play that game better than anyone. I stand up, dump my cold coffee in the sink, and head toward the stairs. Where are you going? She calls after me. To find something else to do with my time, I say without turning around. Thanks for the suggestion. And that's exactly what I did. For 2 weeks, I gave Felicity exactly what she asked for. Complete and total silence. It was like taking a vacation from hell. I got up, went to work at the logistics warehouse, came home, ate dinner, watched TV, and went to bed. No attempts at conversation, no asking about her day, no trying to make plans, nothing. The funny thing is, those 2 weeks were the most peaceful I'd felt in months. No drama, no walking on eggshells, no wondering what mood she'd be in when she got home. Just blissful, golden silence. But apparently that wasn't what Princess Felicity had in mind. At work, I manage logistics for a mid-sized shipping company. It's not glamorous, but it pays well, and I'm good at it. I've got a team of 12 guys who depend on me to keep the operation running smooth. Griff, my shift lead, is the kind of guy who's got your back no matter what. He's been working warehouses for 20 years, knows every trick in the book, and doesn't take crap from anyone. You seem different lately, Griff says during our lunch break. More relaxed or something. Just working on some personal issues, I tell him, unwrapping my sandwich. Wife troubles? I shrug. Something like that. What I don't tell him is that Felicity's best friend, Sabine, has been posting cryptic messages on social media about toxic relationships and emotional misuse. Real subtle stuff like some people think ignoring someone is a form of control and silent treatment is psychological warfare. The kind of posts that make all her followers think they know what's going on in my marriage. My phone buzzes with a text from my neighbor, Mrs. Patterson. Everything okay? Felicity seemed upset when she left this morning. Great. Now the whole neighborhood is getting involved. But I stick to my plan. Felicity wanted space? She's got all the space in the world. Then came Thursday afternoon. I'm in the warehouse office going over shipping manifests when Big Ray from security calls up. Owen, you got a visitor. Your wife's here and she's pretty worked up. I look out the office window and see Felicity marching across the warehouse floor in her gallery clothes. Black blazer, heels that cost more than most people make in a week, looking completely out of place among the forklifts and shipping containers. She storms into my office without knocking, her face red with anger. You've gone too far, Owen. My guys are all watching now, pretending to work while they take in the show. Perfect. I open my desk drawer, pull out a manila envelope, and slide it across to her. Actually, I don't think I've gone far enough. She opens it, and her face goes white. Divorce papers. What the hell is this? It's exactly what it looks like. You wanted your space, your independence, your own life. Congratulations, you're about to get all three. You can't be serious. Oh, I'm dead serious. Don't worry about your clothes, by the way. I already packed them up and left the boxes by the front door. Saves you a trip. The warehouse has gone completely quiet now. Even the forklifts have stopped moving. Felicity looks around, realizes she's got an audience, and her voice drops to a hiss. You fool. You think you can just throw me away like garbage? I'm not throwing you away, Flick. I'm giving you exactly what you asked for. Freedom. She lunges across the desk, trying to grab the papers, but I'm faster. I hit the intercom button. Security to the office, please. Big Ray appears in the doorway, looking uncomfortable but determined. Ma'am, I'm going to have to ask you to leave. This is my husband, and this is private property. Come on, let's go. As Ray escorts her out, Felicity turns back to scream at me. You think this is over? You have no idea what you've just started. The warehouse erupts in whispers and chuckles. Griff appears in my doorway, shaking his head. Damn, Owen, remind me never to piss you off. But I knew she wasn't done. Not by a long shot. I should have known Felicity wouldn't go quietly. When I got home that evening, she was standing on the front porch, still in her gallery clothes, looking like she'd been crying. The boxes of her stuff were gone. We need to talk, she said as I walked up. No, we really don't. I pulled out my keys, but she grabbed my wrist. Owen, please, I was upset. I didn't mean what I said. Sure you did. And you know what? You were right. We both deserve better than this. I tried to unlock the door, but she wouldn't let go of my arm. Her grip was surprisingly strong. Let go, Felicity. Not until you listen to me. I said let go. She didn't. Instead, she dug her nails into my wrist, hard enough to draw blood. I jerked my arm away, and she stumbled backward, nearly falling off the porch. Stay away from me, I said, finally getting the door open. You can't just lock me out of my own house. Watch me. I went inside and turned the deadbolt. Through the window, I watched her stand there for a few minutes, then walk to her car. But instead of leaving, she just sat there, waiting. She was still there when I went to bed at 11. Still there when I got up at 6 the next morning. Her car was parked across the street, and I could see her slumped over the steering wheel, asleep. This was getting ridiculous. I left for work through the back door, cutting through the neighbor's yard to avoid her. But when I got home that evening, her car was gone, and my front door was standing wide open. I called the police from my cell phone before going inside. The house was trashed. Not destroyed, but definitely searched. Drawers pulled out, cushions moved, closets emptied, and several things were missing. Specifically, 3 paintings that used to hang in the living room. Ugly modern art pieces that Felicity had insisted on buying when we first got married. I'd never liked them, but they were expensive, so I'd tolerated them. Officer Martinez arrived 20 minutes later, a middle-aged guy with tired eyes who looked like he'd seen this kind of thing 1,000 times before. So your wife has a key? Had a key. I changed the locks yesterday. Any signs of forced entry? We walked around the house together. The back window was open, screen cut cleanly with something sharp. Looks like she came in through here, Martinez said, making notes. You want to press charges? Damn right I do. Well, here's the thing. You're still legally married, and this is still legally her residence. Breaking and entering charges probably won't stick. As for the missing paintings, if she can prove she bought them. Are you kidding me? Martinez shrugged. Domestic disputes are complicated. My advice? Get a lawyer and settle this in divorce court. We can file a report, but don't expect much to come of it. After he left, I walked through the house, taking inventory of what was missing. The paintings were the big-ticket items, but she'd also taken some jewelry, a few electronics, and, weirdly, several books from my collection. Old books that I'd inherited from my grandfather. Books that shouldn't have meant anything to her. I was still puzzling over that when my phone rang. Unknown number. Owen? This is Margaret Voss from the Riverside Gallery. I knew the name. Felicity had mentioned her before, some high-end gallery owner downtown. Mrs. Voss, what can I do for you? I'm calling about the paintings, the ones Felicity brought in this morning. My blood went cold. What about them? Well, she said you were getting divorced and needed to sell them quickly. But when I looked them up in my database, Owen, those paintings were reported stolen from my gallery 3 years ago. I sat down hard in my kitchen chair. Stolen? 3 pieces by Marcus Chen, a local artist. They disappeared during a break-in. The insurance company paid out nearly $50,000. $50,000 for those ugly paintings that had been hanging in my living room for years. Mrs. Voss, I had no idea. Felicity told me she bought them from some artist friend. I believe you. The question is, what do we do now? What do? Felicity is insisting they're hers, but I have documentation proving otherwise. Where is she now? She left about an hour ago, said she'd be back tomorrow with more pieces. More pieces. What the hell had my wife been up to? Mrs. Voss, I'm going to call you back. I need to figure some things out. After I hung up, I sat in my kitchen, staring at the empty spaces on the walls where those paintings used to hang. 3 years ago, right around the time Felicity started working part-time at various galleries around town. Right around the time she started coming home late and being secretive about her art connections. My phone buzzed with a text from an unknown number. Stop causing problems or you'll regret it. I screenshotted it and forwarded it to Officer Martinez. Then I called Griff. I need a favor, I said when he answered. Name it. You still got that friend who works in private security? The one with the surveillance equipment? Yeah, Tony, why? I think I'm going to need to do some detective work. The next morning, I called in sick to work. First time in 3 years, but I had more important things to do. I met Tony Ricci at a diner downtown, a guy in his 50s who'd spent 20 years as a cop before going private. Griff had vouched for him, and that was good enough for me. Your wife's got herself mixed up in something, Tony said after I'd explained the situation. Art theft is serious business, not something you stumble into by accident. So what do I do? First, we find out who she's working with. Nobody steals high-end art solo. Second, we figure out what else she's stolen. Third, we document everything before we go to the cops. Tony handed me a small device that looked like a phone charger. GPS tracker. If you can get this in her car, we can monitor her movements. Is that legal? You're married. It's community property. Legally, you own half that car. That afternoon, I drove to Felicity's sister's house, where she'd apparently been staying. Her car was in the driveway, and I could see her through the kitchen window, talking animatedly on the phone. I walked up to the car like I belonged there, popped the hood, and attached Tony's device to the battery. The whole thing took less than 30 seconds. As I was walking back to my truck, the front door opened. Owen! Felicity's sister Amanda came out looking nervous. What are you doing here? Just wanted to talk to Flick, work things out. She doesn't want to see you. That's fine. Just tell her I found some more of her art books. She can pick them up any time. Amanda frowned. Art books? Yeah, the ones about authentication and appraisal. She left them in the basement. I was lying, of course, but Amanda's reaction told me everything I needed to know. Her eyes went wide, and she glanced back toward the house. I'll tell her, she said quickly, then practically slammed the door. Within an hour, Tony called me. Your wife's on the move, heading downtown. I met him at a coffee shop across from the Riverside Gallery. Through the window, we watched Felicity park and go inside, carrying a large portfolio. She's got more stuff, Tony said, adjusting his binoculars. 20 minutes later, she came out empty-handed and drove to a part of town I didn't recognize. Tony and I followed at a distance, watching as she pulled into the parking lot of a seedy motel called the Starlight Inn. Classy, Tony muttered. Felicity walked to room 237 and knocked. The door opened, and I got my first look at her partner in crime. A guy in his 30s with slicked back hair and an expensive suit that didn't quite fit right. They talked for a few minutes, then went inside. You know him? Tony asked. Never seen him before in my life. We waited. An hour later, they came out together. The guy was carrying a briefcase now, and they were both smiling. They kissed. Not a friendly peck, but a full-on tongue-wrestling grab-a-kiss that made my stomach turn. Sorry, man, Tony said. Don't be. This just makes everything easier. We followed the guy to a pawn shop on the east side of town. He went in with the briefcase, came out without it. Bingo, Tony said. That's where they're fencing the stolen art. But we weren't done yet. Felicity drove to another location, a storage unit facility. She used a key to open Unit 47 and spent 20 minutes inside. When she came out, she was carrying another portfolio. How many paintings has she stolen? I asked. We're about to find out. That evening, I called Mrs. Voss and told her what I'd discovered. I've been thinking about this, she said. 3 years ago, Felicity applied for a job here. I didn't hire her, but I did give her a tour of our storage facility. She would have seen exactly where we keep our inventory. And she's been stealing from other galleries too? It's possible. There's been a rash of art thefts around the city. Always small pieces, always from storage areas that aren't heavily monitored. The police think it's organized crime, but maybe it's just one very smart thief. What do you want to do? I want my paintings back, and I want whoever's responsible to pay for what they've done. Mrs. Voss, I think I can help you with that. The next morning, I drove to the storage facility and waited. Sure enough, Felicity showed up around noon. I watched her go into Unit 47, then called Tony. I need you to get me into that storage unit. That's breaking and entering, Owen. Not if I'm there to collect my wife's belongings as part of the divorce proceedings. Tony sighed. You're going to get us both arrested. Maybe, but I'm going to get those paintings back first. We waited until Felicity left, then Tony worked his magic on the lock. Inside the storage unit, we found a treasure trove. Dozens of paintings, sculptures, and other art pieces, all carefully wrapped and cataloged. Jesus, Tony whispered. This stuff has to be worth hundreds of thousands. I took pictures of everything, then called Mrs. Voss. I found your paintings, I said, and about 50 others. Where are you? I gave her the address. You might want to call the police, too. But before the cops arrived, I had one more stop to make. The Anchor Bar was Felicity's favorite hangout, a trendy place downtown where all the gallery crowd went to see and be seen. I'd always hated it, but tonight, it was perfect for my purposes. I walked in around 9 p.m., still wearing my work clothes, looking completely out of place among the art world pretenders. Felicity was holding court at a corner table with Sabine and 3 other women I recognized from various gallery openings. The conversation stopped when they saw me. "Owen," Felicity said, her voice icy. "What are you doing here?" "Just wanted to buy you ladies a drink. Celebrate your success." I walked to the bar, ordered a round of their most expensive wine, and had it sent over. Then I joined them at their table, pulling up a chair without being invited. "Success?" Sabine asked, clearly confused. "Oh, Flick didn't tell you. She's been running quite the art acquisition business. Very impressive operation." Felicity's face went pale. "Owen, don't what? Don't tell your friends how talented you are? How you've managed to acquire dozens of valuable paintings over the past 3 years?" The other women were looking back and forth between us, sensing drama but not understanding it yet. "I think you should leave," Felicity said. "In a minute. First, I want to toast your entrepreneurial spirit. Ladies, did you know that Felicity has been single-handedly solving the city's art storage problem? All those paintings just sitting in gallery basements, not being appreciated. She's been liberating them." "What are you talking about?" one of the women asked. "Art theft," I said simply. "Felicity's been stealing paintings from galleries around the city and selling them through a fence at Mickey's pawn shop on East Side." The table went dead silent. "He's lying," Felicity said, but her voice was shaking. "Am I? Then why did the police find 50 stolen paintings in your storage unit this afternoon?" Sabine's mouth fell open. "Felicity? Is this true? Of course not. He's trying to destroy my reputation because I asked for a divorce." "Actually, I filed for divorce," I corrected. "And I'm not trying to destroy your reputation. I'm just sharing some interesting facts, like how you've been cheating on me with some sleazeball named Luke DeMarco, or how you've been posting fake stories on social media about me being abusive, or how you broke into our house and stole paintings that you originally stole from the Riverside Gallery." The other women were staring at Felicity in horror now. One of them, a gallery owner I'd met at a few events, stood up abruptly. "I need to make some phone calls," she said, and hurried away. "Owen, please," Felicity whispered. "You're ruining everything." "No, Flick, you ruined everything. I'm just making sure everyone knows about it." I stood up, tossed a 20 on the table, and headed for the door. But I wasn't done yet. Luke DeMarco was waiting in the parking lot, leaning against a black BMW that probably cost more than I made in 2 years. He was everything I wasn't. Tall, handsome, well-dressed, with the kind of confidence that comes from never having to work for anything. "You must be the husband," he said as I approached. "And you must be the boyfriend. How's the art business, Luke?" He smiled, but there was nothing friendly about it. "Felicity says you're causing problems." "Felicity says a lot of things. Most of them are lies." "Maybe you should mind your own business. Funny thing about that, my wife stealing art and cheating on me kind of is my business." Luke pushed off from his car, taking a step toward me. He was bigger than me, probably stronger, and definitely more expensive, but I'd been working in warehouses for 15 years and I knew how to handle myself. "Walk away, old man," he said, "before you get hurt. Or what? You'll steal my paintings too?" He swung at me then, a lazy, overconfident punch that I saw coming from a mile away. I ducked, grabbed his wrist, and used his own momentum to spin him around and slam him face first into his car. "Here's the thing about warehouse work," I said, keeping his arm twisted behind his back. "It teaches you how to handle heavy, awkward objects, like overgrown pretty boys who think they're tough. Let me go. In a second. First, I want you to understand something. The police have your girlfriend's storage unit. They have photos of you at the pawn shop. They probably have your fingerprints on half those stolen paintings. So if I were you, I'd be less worried about threatening me and more worried about finding a good lawyer." I let him go and stepped back. Luke turned around, his face red with anger and embarrassment. "This isn't over," he said. "Yeah, it is. You just don't know it yet." He got in his car and drove off, tires squealing. I walked to my truck feeling better than I had in months, but the real fireworks were just getting started. The next morning, I got a call from Detective Sarah Collins, the cop assigned to the art theft case. "Mr. Halbrook, we need to talk. Can you come down to the station? Am I under arrest?" "No, but we have some questions about your wife's activities." An hour later, I was sitting in an interview room telling Detective Collins everything I knew. She was a sharp woman in her 40s with gray hair and intelligent eyes that didn't miss much. "So you had no knowledge of the stolen paintings in your house?" "None. I thought Felicity bought them legitimately." "And you didn't know about the storage unit?" "Not until yesterday." She made notes, then looked up at me. "Your wife is claiming you were involved. Says you pressured her into stealing the art to pay off gambling debts." I laughed. "Detective, I haven't been to a casino in my life. You can check my bank records, my credit cards, whatever you need. The only debt I have is my mortgage." "We will. But in the meantime, I need you to stay available. Don't leave town." "I'm not going anywhere." As I was leaving the police station, my phone rang. "Mrs. Voss." "Owen, I have a proposition for you." "I'm listening." "The insurance companies are very interested in recovering their stolen property. They're offering a substantial reward for information leading to the arrest and conviction of whoever's been stealing art around the city." "How substantial?" $25,000. Plus, they want to make sure Luke DeMarco doesn't skip town before the trial." "What do you need me to do?" "Help us set a trap." That evening, I met Mrs. Voss and Detective Collins at the gallery. The plan was simple. I would contact Luke, pretend to have more stolen art to sell, and arrange a meeting. The police would be waiting. "You sure about this?" Detective Collins asked. "If DeMarco realizes it's a setup, things could get dangerous." "I'm sure." I called Luke from a burner phone Tony had given me. "It's Owen," I said when he answered. "What do you want?" "I want to make a deal. Felicity's been arrested, and I need money for a lawyer. I've got some paintings she hid at the house, high-end stuff." There was a long pause. "What kind of paintings?" "The kind that are worth 50 grand apiece." "You interested?" "Maybe. Where do you want to meet?" "The Starlight Motel, room 237. Tomorrow night at 10. "How do I know this isn't a setup?" "Because I'm the one who's going to prison if I get caught with stolen art. I need this to go away as much as you do." He agreed to the meeting. The next night, I was wired for sound and waiting in the motel room with 2 undercover cops. Detective Collins and her team were positioned outside. Luke showed up right on time, carrying a briefcase. He looked nervous, constantly checking over his shoulder. "Where are the paintings?" he asked as soon as he walked in. "In my truck. Let me see the money first." He opened the briefcase, revealing stacks of cash. 50,000, like we agreed. "How do I know it's real?" "Same way I know the paintings are real. Trust." I walked toward the door, motioning for him to follow. "They're in the parking lot." As soon as we stepped outside, Detective Collins and her team moved in. "Police, nobody move." Luke tried to run, but there was nowhere to go. He was surrounded. "You set me up!" He screamed at me as they cuffed him. "No!" I said. "I just gave you exactly what you deserved." They found more than just cash in Luke's briefcase. They found a list of galleries he and Felicity had targeted, along with detailed floor plans and security information. The art theft ring was bigger than anyone had imagined. But I wasn't done yet. I had one more surprise for my dear wife. The divorce hearing was scheduled for the following Friday. Felicity had hired an expensive lawyer, probably with money from the stolen art, and was planning to fight me for everything. She wanted half the house, half my retirement account, and alimony. What she didn't know was that I'd been busy. I arrived at the courthouse early, carrying a thick folder of documents. Felicity was already there with her lawyer, a slick guy in a $1,000 suit who looked like he'd stepped out of a legal drama. "Mr. Halbrook," he said as I sat down. "I'm David Sterling, Mrs. Halbrook's attorney. I understand you're representing yourself?" "That's right. I should warn you, divorce law is complicated. You might want to consider settling out of court." "Thanks for the advice. I'll keep it in mind." When the judge called our case, Sterling stood up and launched into a prepared speech about how his client had been emotionally misused and financially controlled, how she deserved compensation for years of suffering. "Your Honor," he said, Mrs. Halbrook was forced to seek comfort elsewhere due to her husband's neglect and controlling behavior. She's asking for nothing more than what she's entitled to under state law. When it was my turn, I stood up and opened my folder. Your Honor, I'd like to present some evidence that might be relevant to this case. I handed copies of the police reports to the judge and Sterling. Bank records showing deposits from the pawn shop into Felicity's personal account, photos of the stolen art in the storage unit, copies of the text messages between Felicity and Luke. As you can see, Your Honor, my wife has been engaged in a criminal enterprise for the past 3 years. She's stolen over $200,000 worth of art from local galleries and has been living off the proceeds. She's also been having an affair with her accomplice, Luke DeMarco, who was arrested last week. Sterling's face went white. Felicity was staring at me in shock. Furthermore, I continued, I have evidence that she broke into our marital home and stole additional property, which she then attempted to sell. I'm asking the court to deny her request for alimony and to award me full ownership of our house, since it was purchased with my legitimate income, not stolen money. The judge looked through the documents, then fixed Felicity with a stern stare. Mrs. Halbrook, are you currently under indictment for art theft? Felicity's lawyer whispered something in her ear, then stood up. Your Honor, my client invokes her Fifth Amendment right against self-incrimination. I see. In that case, I'm granting Mr. Halbrook's petition for divorce. Given the criminal allegations and the evidence presented, I'm awarding him full ownership of the marital home and denying the request for alimony. Mrs. Halbrook will have 30 days to remove her personal belongings from the residence. As we left the courtroom, Felicity tried one last desperate move. She grabbed my arm in the hallway, tears streaming down her face. Owen, please, I made mistakes, but we can work this out. I love you. I looked at her, really looked at her, and felt nothing but pity. No, Flick. You love what I could do for you. You love having someone to blame when your schemes fall apart. You love having someone to come home to when your boyfriend gets arrested. But you don't love me. You never did. That's not true. It is true. And you know what? I'm okay with that. Because I finally figured out the difference between being alone and being lonely. I was lonely when I was married to you. Now I'm just alone, and it's a hell of an improvement. I walked away, leaving her standing in the courthouse hallway. 3 months later, Luke DeMarco was sentenced to 5 years in federal prison for art theft and conspiracy. Felicity got 3 years, suspended to 18 months with probation, in exchange for testifying against him and helping recover the stolen artwork. The insurance companies paid me the $25,000 reward, which I used to renovate the house. I kept my job at the warehouse, but I also started doing consulting work for security companies, helping them protect against art theft. Sabine tried to friend me on social media a few weeks after the trial, probably looking for gossip to share with her followers. I blocked her. Amanda, Felicity's sister, called to apologize for not knowing what was going on. I told her it wasn't her fault and that I hoped Felicity would get the help she needed. Mrs. Voss offered me a job at the gallery, but I declined. I like working with my hands, solving practical problems, managing real people doing real work. The art world is too full of people like Felicity. Beautiful, charming, and completely hollow inside. 6 months after the divorce was final, I was having a beer at Murphy's Pub, a working-class bar near the warehouse, when Griff sat down next to me. You seem different, he said. How so? Happier, more relaxed, like you finally figured something out. I thought about that for a minute. You know what I figured out? Sometimes the best revenge isn't getting even. Sometimes it's just letting people face the consequences of their own choices. That's pretty philosophical for a warehouse manager. Yeah, well, divorce will do that to you. We sat in comfortable silence for a while, watching the game on TV. Then Griff asked the question I'd been waiting for. Any regrets? I finished my beer and stood up to leave. Just one. I should have changed those locks years ago. As I walked out into the cool evening air, I thought about Felicity, probably sitting in her tiny apartment, wondering how her perfect plan had gone so wrong. She'd wanted to control me, manipulate me, use me as her safety net while she played her games. Instead, she'd given me the greatest gift of my life. She'd shown me exactly who she really was. And more importantly, she'd shown me who I really was. I was someone who didn't need to be needed. Someone who could stand on his own. Someone who could face the truth, no matter how ugly, and come out stronger on the other side. If she was looking for sympathy, she could find it in the dictionary, right between sham and syphilis. But she wouldn't find it from me. Not anymore.